Imagine sitting on a throne of absolute royalty, only to find out the entire fairy tale was orchestrating a multi-million-dollar escape plan before the ring even touched the finger. What if I told you that the most watched wedding of the decade wasn't a celebrated romance, but the most calculated, high-stakes takeover in modern history? Tom Bower has just dropped an absolute nuclear bomb on the House of Windsor, blowing open confidential palace dossiers, secret WhatsApp groups, and warnings that were buried deeper than royal secrets. We're talking about 4 separate high-ranking warnings, direct orders from the late Queen herself, and a chilling report from inside Kensington Palace that predicted the ultimate downfall before the cake was even cut. Did Meghan Markle weaponize her timeline, manipulate a prince, and book a seat for Oprah Winfrey before she even walked down the aisle? Or was Prince Harry so hopelessly blinded that he willingly deleted every single friend and family member who tried to save him? Today we are laying out every single receipt, every anonymous leak, and the scandalous detail involving a pair of Wellington boots that the mainstream media was way too terrified to touch. Is this the ultimate love story? Or the most ruthless, masterfully executed PR heist ever pulled off on global television? You think you've heard every angle of Megxit, but when the highest levels of the palace start breaking their silence on record, the fairy tale completely shatters into pieces. Grab your popcorn, clear your schedule, and buckle up, because what you are about to hear changes everything you thought you knew about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. To truly understand the sheer magnitude of the catastrophe we are dealing with today, we have to pull back the curtain and look directly at the key players in this unprecedented royal showdown. On one side, we have the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, 2 global figures who have built an entire media empire around their personal grievances, their perceived persecution, and their dramatic exit from the British monarchy. On the other side, we have Tom Bower, a veteran investigative biographer known for relentlessly picking apart the carefully crafted public images of the world's most powerful people. Bower does not write flattering bedtime stories for celebrities. He digs through court documents, tracks down disgruntled former employees, and interviews key insiders off the record until he has enough ammunition to drop a conversational nuclear bomb on the public record. And his latest book, Betrayal, is doing precisely that. When the Sussex camp received wind of what was contained inside this explosive new biography, they did not issue a standard PR statement. They did not calmly dispute the specific sourcing or release a point-by-point rebuttal through their legal team. Instead, their official spokesperson released a statement describing the entire work as a deranged conspiracy and a piece of pure melodrama. Now, if you pay close attention to the mechanics of public relations, that specific choice of words is profoundly revealing. You do not reach for the word deranged when you want to engage in a civil debate or present counter evidence. You reach for a word like deranged when you are desperate to shut down a conversation before anyone starts asking deeper questions. It is a rhetorical panic button designed to discredit the messenger so completely that the audience never bothers to examine the actual receipts. But Tom Bower is not a man who backs down when faced with corporate PR pushback. In fact, when pressed on live television about whether he simply holds a personal grudge against Meghan Markle, he did not even blink. He did not offer a polite diplomatic disclaimer or pretend to be an unbiased fan of the couple. Instead, he stated flatly on air that he never likes the people he writes about, pointing out that over the course of writing 29 books, his entire professional career has been dedicated to popping the artificial bubbles created by famous people who seek to profit from their public image while manipulating their own narratives. So here we stand, caught between a biographer who openly admits he despises his subjects, and a royal couple who claims he is dangerously fixated on them. That leaves us, the audience, with only one reliable measure of truth. Do the independent testimonies of named insiders, palace officials, and royal correspondents match the picture being painted? Let us begin with the first layer of this scandal, a detail so staggering that it reframes the entire timeline of the royal wedding. For 7 long years, the public was fed a very specific narrative. We were told that Meghan Markle fell deeply in love with Prince Harry, tried her absolute best to adapt to the grueling demands of life as a working royal, but was ultimately driven out of the country by a hostile press pack and a cold, unsupportive institution. It was a classic narrative of a modern woman being crushed by an ancient system. However, the internal records, leaked reports, and first-hand testimonies emerging from inside Kensington Palace tell a story that is not just slightly different, but completely upside down. According to explosive findings detailed by palace insiders, The royal family knew long before the wedding choir sang a single note at Windsor that this marriage was destined for total chaos. This was not a sudden breakdown that occurred after the couple moved to Frogmore Cottage or after their tour of Australia. The alarm bells were ringing loudly behind closed doors while they were still in the early stages of dating. In fact, there were 4 distinct, high-level warnings issued to Prince Harry from the people closest to him, each one begging him to slow down, take a breath, and evaluate the situation before committing to a royal marriage. The first warning came from the absolute highest authority in the realm, Queen Elizabeth II herself. According to royal biographer Hugo Vickers and multiple palace sources, the late Queen, who had spent over 7 decades navigating complex family dynamics and constitutional crises, explicitly advised Prince Harry to wait a full 12 months before marrying Meghan Markle. This was not a veto, nor was it a cold rejection of his happiness. It was the seasoned wisdom of a monarch who had seen short-term infatuation wreak havoc on the crown in previous generations. She asked for 1 year. Just 12 months to allow the media circus to settle, to give Meghan time to understand the overwhelming demands of royal duty, and to test whether the relationship could handle the weight of the institution. Yet, how did Prince Harry respond to the most respected monarch in modern history? He completely ignored her. He was in such a rush to push the wedding forward that he treated the Queen's gentle guidance not as wisdom, but as an obstacle to be bypassed. But it did not stop with his grandmother. The second warning came from the person who had known Harry his entire life. His brother, Prince William. William sat his younger brother down for a private, conciliatory conversation and expressed genuine concern about the blinding speed at which the relationship was progressing. The book reveals that this tea-time conversation did not end with brotherly bonding. It exploded into open hostility, with Meghan reportedly snapping at the future King of England, telling him to get his finger out of her face. William held deep, serious doubts about Meghan's long-term intentions long before there was ever a diamond ring on her finger, but his concerns were dismissed as jealousy and snobbery. The third warning came from an even more surprising source, Prince Andrew. Now, Andrew is hardly a man whose moral judgment anyone would champion, and even commentators on air noted that taking advice from him is laughable. But even Andrew reportedly pulled Harry aside, and told him he needed to perform proper due diligence on the woman he was bringing into the royal family. When a man like Andrew is telling you to exercise caution, you know the situation behind the scenes must be extraordinarily tense. Yet, Harry refused to listen to him as well, viewing any form of questioning as a direct attack on his newfound romance. Then came the fourth warning, and this is the one that completely destroys the narrative that Meghan was given no guidance or support by the royal family. Desperate to ensure that Meghan was properly prepared for life inside the firm, Queen Elizabeth personally commissioned a highly famous, deeply respected member of the British establishment to act as Meghan's personal tutor. This was not some low-level staffer or a nosy courtier dropping off a stack of rulebooks. This was a dedicated mentor who met with Meghan at Kensington Palace every 3 to 4 weeks, holding intensive one-on-one sessions that lasted over an hour each time. It was a comprehensive training course in royal protocol, public service, and constitutional expectations. And what was the result of those private sessions? After just the third or fourth meeting, this high-ranking mentor went directly back to the monarch and filed a terrifying assessment. The report stated plainly that Meghan Markle had absolutely no intention of falling into line, that she viewed royal duties as beneath her, and that she was going to cause immense, unprecedented trouble for the institution. The mentor boldly predicted that Meghan would not remain in the United Kingdom, and that the marriage would spark a major crisis for the royal family. The palace knew, long before the golden carriage rolled down the long walk in 2018, that they were inviting a massive structural explosion directly into the heart of the monarchy. Instead of heeding these 4 urgent warnings, Prince Harry went on an absolute campaign off scorched earth. Every single person who dared to suggest that he take things slowly was instantly cut out of his life. His childhood best friend, Tom and Skip, who had stood by him through his wild younger years, gently suggested that he think twice before marrying Meghan. Harry's response was brutal and immediate. He effectively declared his best friend dead to him, freezing him out of the inner circle and revoking his access. The pattern was unmistakably clear. Anyone who offered honest counsel was treated as an enemy, while anyone who enabled the rapid acceleration of the relationship was welcomed with open arms. While Harry was busy isolating himself from his family and lifelong friends, A very different, highly calculated operation was taking place right under the noses of the British press. To understand how deeply planned this entire saga truly was, we have to look closely at the behavioral receipts from that early courtship period, starting with a hilarious, almost absurd detail that exposes how the media game was really being played. Picture this: central London, the wealthy district of Kensington, just a stone's throw away from Kensington Palace. Right around the corner from the palace sits a famous Whole Foods store, a place well known in journalistic circles as the informal canteen for reporters working at the nearby Daily Mail newsroom. If you are a high-profile person who genuinely wants to hide from the media, that specific grocery store is the single most dangerous place on the entire continent of Europe to hang out. It is literally walking straight into the lion's den. Yet, during the earliest days of her relationship with Harry, when the romance was supposed to be a closely guarded secret, Meghan Markle was spotted walking through that exact area wearing a pair of green Wellington boots and a baseball cap pulled down over her long hair. Now, ask yourself logically, who wears heavy country mud boots on the paved concrete sidewalks of central London? It was a spectacle, an eye-catching outfit designed to draw attention while pretending to be an undercover disguise. She was strolling directly past the newsroom doors of the very publication she would later accuse of hunting her down. This was not a quiet, private romance being exposed by aggressive paparazzi. It was a carefully staged sequence of breadcrumbs designed to force the relationship out into the public eye and lock Prince Harry into a public commitment, and the calculations did not stop with London street walks. The level of tactical planning running beneath the surface of this relationship extended far beyond fashion choices and deliberate media sightings. It stretched across continents, involving secret housing searches, strategically timed family drama, and an ultimate exit strategy that was being drawn up before the engagement ring was even forged. As the public watched the grand spectacle of the 2018 royal wedding unfold, complete with its star-studded guest list and millions of global viewers, few realized that the real story was happening in the shadows of the royal estate. While Prince Harry believed he was embarking on a private journey toward a quiet life with the woman of his dreams, investigative sources indicate that a parallel timeline was already well underway. One of the most glaring examples of this dual narrative involves the couple's supposed plans for their future living arrangements. For months, the media was told that Harry and Meghan were deeply passionate about making a significant impact in Africa, specifically by relocating to South Africa to represent the Commonwealth and escape the relentless pressure of the British press pack. Prince Harry, who has long held a deep emotional connection to the African continent, was reportedly thrilled by the prospect of building a quiet, philanthropic life there. He believed Meghan shared this exact dream, and the couple went so far as to participate in virtual house viewings in South Africa via exclusive WhatsApp group chats with real estate agents and intermediaries. However, behind-the-scenes accounts reveal a radically different truth. Multiple journalists and palace insiders have now come forward to allege that Meghan was simply playing along with Harry's South African dream to maintain his emotional devotion. While Harry was looking at properties in Africa, Meghan's personal friends in California were openly telling media contacts that the couple was already preparing for a permanent move to Malibu. Long before an engagement ring was ever placed on her finger, sources within Hollywood circles were fully aware that Meghan had no long-term intention of remaining in the United Kingdom or moving to Africa. Her eye was firmly fixed on a return to the high-stakes celebrity landscape of Southern California. This calculated approach was not merely limited to geographic locations, it extended directly to the guest list of their wedding at St. George's Chapel. When global audiences tuned in to watch the ceremony, many were baffled to see entertainment icons like Oprah Winfrey, Serena Williams, and George and Amal Clooney seated in prime locations inside the chapel, despite reports that several of these celebrities barely knew the bride or groom prior to the event. Critics and royal commentators now point out that inviting Oprah Winfrey to a royal wedding was not a gesture of personal friendship, but a brilliant, strategic business move. The seeds for their record-breaking, explosive 2021 tell-all interview were planted right there in the pews of Windsor Castle, years before the couple officially stepped back from their duties as senior working royals. To ensure that this grand trajectory remained on course, any potential obstacle that could disrupt the narrative had to be systematically neutralized. Nowhere was this more evident than in the handling of Meghan's father, Thomas Markle. For 7 years, the prevailing public story was that Thomas Markle tragically alienated his daughter right before the wedding by staging paparazzi photographs and suffering a sudden heart attack, which forced him to pull out of walking her down the aisle at the last minute. Yet, newly uncovered details from court documents and insider biographies paint a far more ruthless picture. The records indicate that months before the staged paparazzi scandal ever occurred, and months before Thomas Markle suffered his heart attack, Meghan had already privately declared that she did not want her father leading her down the aisle at St. George's Chapel. Consider the sheer geography of the situation. Thomas Markle was residing in Rosarito, Mexico, a modest coastal town located just a 2-hour drive from Los Angeles, where Prince Harry and Meghan spent considerable time during their courtship. Throughout the entirety of their relationship, Prince Harry was never once introduced to his future father-in-law in person. 2 hours was all that separated a royal prince from meeting the father of his future bride. Yet that meeting never happened. Insiders suggest that keeping Thomas Markle at a distance was essential to maintaining total control over the narrative being presented to the royal family and the global media. By ensuring her father remained isolated in Mexico, the stage was set for an inevitable public fallout that could be blamed entirely on his bad behavior, clearing the path for an unencumbered royal entrance. This level of calculated ambition did not go unnoticed by the seasoned staff and courtiers working within Kensington Palace. Behind closed doors, staff members were bearing the brunt of an environment that many described as deeply toxic. Reports filed by senior communications executives detail a culture where long-serving aides were driven to tears, with several high-profile staffers resigning in rapid succession. The situation became so dire that formal bullying complaints were submitted to the Palace Human Resources Department, complaints that the Sussexes vehemently denied, labeling them as a smear campaign orchestrated by the palace machine. However, the behavioral patterns observed by royal aides pointed toward a deeper psychological dynamic. Senior figures within the palace noted that Meghan seemed genuinely incapable of understanding her position within the royal hierarchy. Having entered the family as a successful American actress used to controlling her own image and brand, she struggled with the rigid precedents of the British monarchy. Insiders reported that Meghan harbored deep frustration over the fact that she was subordinate to Catherine. This shift in perspective has sparked intense, high-level discussions within the highest corridors of royal power. Senior advisors and key members of the royal family are now weighing whether Prince Harry can ever truly be brought back into the fold, or at the very least, extracted from the high-pressure media ecosystem he currently inhabits. Biographers and palace insiders reveal that family members, including Queen Camilla and Prince William, have discussed the possibility of reaching out to Harry on his own, away from the influence of his California team. The theory circulating among palace strategists is that if Harry was indeed emotionally steered into making drastic choices, a pathway to personal reconciliation might still exist, but only if he is willing to engage without a camera crew or a legal team present. However, any potential reconciliation faces a massive, near insurmountable obstacle in the form of Prince William. The Prince of Wales, who witnessed firsthand the damage inflicted upon his late grandmother during her final years, has taken an uncompromising stance on the matter. Sources close to Kensington Palace emphasize that William views the systematic leaks, the public attacks on his wife, and the monetization of private family conversations as an absolute betrayal that cannot be swept under the rug with a polite press release. Unlike previous generations of royals who favored passive diplomacy, William is proving to be a formidable, decisive leader who is fully prepared to take drastic action to protect the future of the crown. Nowhere is this shift in palace strategy more evident than in the discussion surrounding official titles and constitutional precedents. For years, legal experts and constitutional scholars insisted that stripping Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their royal titles would require a lengthy, politically treacherous act of parliament. The public was repeatedly told that the hands of the monarchy were tied by centuries of complex legal tradition. But the recent swift handling of the Prince Andrew scandal changed the game entirely. The royal family demonstrated that when the reputation of the monarchy is at stake, executive mechanisms, such as the sudden issue of letters patent and the immediate removal of royal patronages and HRH usages, can be deployed with devastating efficiency. This historic precedent has sent a clear, undeniable shockwave directly across the Atlantic. Senior legal advisors to the Crown have quietly established strict boundaries regarding the Sussexes' commercial activities. A definitive line in the sand has been drawn. If the Duke and Duchess of Sussex cross the threshold of using their remaining royal titles for direct commercial gain or diplomatic mimicry, such as undertaking quasi-royal foreign tours under the banner of their titles while actively disparaging the institution, The palace is fully prepared to trigger the mechanisms necessary to sever their official links completely. The threat is no longer a theoretical debate among journalists. It is a fully drafted procedural option sitting in the palace archives, waiting for a single trigger event. The human cost of this relentless war for narrative dominance is perhaps the most tragic element of the entire saga. While global audiences dissect every leaked detail, two families remain deeply fractured on opposite sides of the globe. On one side, you have the royal family, navigating a delicate transition of power following the loss of its longest reigning monarch, forced to defend its historical legacy against continuous commercial attacks. On the other side, you have Thomas Markle, an elderly father isolated in Mexico, battling severe health crises in hospital wards without ever receiving a simple phone call or private visit from the daughter whose career and education he once funded. The stark contrast between public lectures on compassion and private actions of complete estrangement has severely damaged the Sussex brand, turning neutral observers into hardened critics. Even the veteran journalists who covered Prince Harry during his younger years, reporters who witnessed his genuine dedication to wounded veterans, his warm interactions with sick children in Barbados, and his natural charisma, express a profound sense of sadness over what has transpired. They remember a prince who was once the most popular, accessible member of the royal family, a young man who possessed an innate ability to connect with everyday people without the need for manufactured branding or Hollywood polish. To see that same prince transformed into what insiders describe as a bitter, grievance-filled figure operating out of a California mansion is widely viewed as one of the most tragic personal declines in modern public life. So where does this leave us as we stand on the precipice of the next explosive chapter? The story of Harry and Meghan is no longer a simple tale of two people who fell in love and wanted a private life away from the cameras. Every piece of evidence, every leaked palace report, every calculated media appearance, and every ignored warning points toward a story of immense ambition, ideological clash, and profound emotional fallout. The fairy tale that was sold to billions of people in 2018 has completely collapsed, leaving behind a trail of broken friendships, fractured family ties, and a permanent constitutional wound. Now, as new testimonies continue to emerge and more insiders prepare to place their experiences on the official record, the ultimate judgment shifts away from PR teams and back to you, the audience. Was Prince Harry a deeply vulnerable man who was systematically isolated and steered away from his roots by a master manipulator? Or was he a deeply frustrated, rebellious prince who finally found a willing partner to help him execute a long-held plan to burn down the institution he secretly resented? Both arguments are supported by serious evidence, and both sides of this debate continue to be argued on the global stage. The receipts have been presented, the warnings have been exposed, and the truth behind the grandest wedding of the century is finally out in the open. As the palace braces for whatever comes next, one thing remains absolutely certain. The battle for the truth is far from over, and the consequences of this royal breakdown will echo through